Do you find your home is constantly messy and your mind is always muddled?
Do you long for more clarity in your thoughts and simplicity in your life?
If you answered yes to these questions, then we think it's time you know the secret to experiencing freedom and joy.
Join us as we unpack all the things that create clutter in our lives and learn the key to living a decluttered and organised life that you can embrace and enjoy.
Together, we will explore what it takes to have a home that is welcoming and well organised, where you're free to focus on living freely and abundantly.
Visit theartofdecluttering.com.au to find out more about joining our online course community.
Welcome to the Art of Decluttering podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Kirsty Ferrugia from Feels Like Home Professional Organisers.
And I'm Amy Revell from Simply Organised. We can't wait to share with you all our tips and tricks to help you declutter and keep your home and family organised.
If you'd like to engage with the podcast further, you can find us at The Art of Decluttering on Facebook.
Let's get started. You've joined us for episode 59 of The Art of Decluttering. Today we'll be talking about decluttering and organising with toddlers.
This episode was brought to you thanks to the lovely Natalie Kuhlman.
I love, Natalie, that you even think this is possible. Or maybe you don't think it's possible and you're testing us. Is it possible to declutter with toddlers?
Good. Let's see.
It totally is, Natalie. If you want to go back and listen to episode 1, we talk a lot about decluttering and organising toys in episode number 1. And let's be honest, a lot of life with toddlers is about the stuff they play with. So we'll talk a little bit more about that today, how to declutter with toddlers, not just for toddlers.
In episode 47, we talked about what to do in between kids with all their stuff. But Natalie wanted us to talk about decluttering with toddlers. So
awesome.
If that interests you, what to do with stuff between kids, if you're in that season, go listen to episode 47. We've got a plethora of topics that we've already talked about, haven't we?
And I'm kind of excited to really, because this is a great one, because you and I have both been through this.
Yes.
As professional organisers and as minimalists and as organised people, it's not like we went through this 20 years ago and we've since changed seasons and we're now organised. We actually did this with kids, let me say not perfectly, but intentionally and with some level of success.
Yeah, some level. So I wanted to tell you about a story I had happened to me when I may have shared this before. Have I shared it before?
You have once before, but share it again because it's a different context and new listeners and all the rest.
Yep. So I distinctly remember Ollie was at a season, he probably was about 15 months old, and he was at that season where they swipe everything.
Swiper, don't swipe. Swiper, don't swipe. Only parents of toddlers will know what I am talking about right now.
And for everybody else, it was a Dora reference. So he would, we had one of the IKEA Expedit or Kallax units they're now called, and it was just the 5x1s, and we had that set up along the ground, and he had lots of toy baskets in the holes, and we had all the toys set up on top of it. Which wasn't the wisest move of parents because he was at that stage where he would just thought it was hysterical to just swipe everything onto the ground. Like it was just the best fun for him.
Yeah, because he's walking along like arm outstretched and just watching everything hit the ground.
Yeah, it was super fun for him. Not so super fun for Simon and I.
Well, he was too young to clean up after himself.
And he was too young to cognitively realise the impact that he was having on
driving you stir crazy.
On my sanity. Yes. So I remember one day, and we'd been working with him like, no, honey, we don't do that. And we're gentle, but we're respectful with our toys. We don't want to ruin the toys. Trying to teach him as best as I could, being a new mum and thinking I knew everything. And then I had my very beautiful friend over, and she was quite a lot further advanced in her parenting than I was. She had like mid-20-year-old kids or early 20-year-old kids at the time. And she said to me, Kirsty, it's okay. Because I was whinging to her about, this kid does this every single day. I was getting very frustrated. And she goes, Kirsty, it's okay. It's what he's meant to do. And it just made me go, yes. It is okay. Like, it's okay that he's doing that, and it's okay that I'm trying to teach him, but I need to have grace for him and grace for myself that this is the season that we're in. And I'm happy to report that at 9, he does not do that.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. Like, if that was a behaviour that he annoyingly took through to his tween years, and every time he walked past your desk, swipe, Emily's craft room, swipe, annoying. 15 months old, it's cause and effect.
Yes. All that to say that toddlers are beautiful.
And a lot of hard work.
Yes.
A lot of work. Not always hard, but they require constant attention.
Yes.
And love and feeding. And love and
tickling
feeding.
And cuddling and exploring and curiosity and all the goodness that toddlers
I have
bring.
Brilliant memories of my children in the toddler years because I was so full of energy because I was not pregnant. I was so excited to not be pregnant that we would do craft every afternoon. So we had kind of this routine. We'd go out in the mornings, we'd go to a park or a play date or a play centre or just outside at our house. Then we'd come in, we'd have lunch, we'd have stories, and then we would do craft every afternoon about 3 o'clock. Usually inspired by Mr. Maker, because I loved Mr. Maker. I don't even know if it's on TV anymore.
It is.
He was just awesome. And so we'd do craft. Like, we really had this beautiful routine that I was loving. And I was home a lot when the kids were that age. And it was such a precious season. And one where I really developed my organising skills. Really developed it. And we're going to share some of those with you today.
And just for those listeners out there who are not like Amy and actually hate doing craft with your kids because it takes you 2 hours to set it up and prep and do everything and then they play with it for 2 seconds, you've got company here. It's okay. You can send them to preschool for that.
Oh, yeah. Kinders are awesome for craft. Once my kids went to kinder, I pretty much never did craft again. I was like, great, I'm paying someone else to do craft with you now.
Yeah.
Like, I am off the hook.
So we do want to encourage you to have grace for yourself and grace for your little ones in this challenging and beautiful season of their lives and yours.
So when we're talking toddlers, we're really talking from as soon as they can walk. So whether that's a year or 18 months or 2 years, however old your child walks, really until they're kind of heading into 3-year-old kinder. Yeah. And probably that 3-year-old kinder age as well, like that real true toddler stage where they're experimenting, learning, pushing boundaries, learning language, getting into habits. And it is a beautiful spongy time in their brains where you can train them positive reinforcement to do things that will help them to fully enjoy playing and exploring and learning.
And being a helpful member of your family.
I know. Who would have thought that 2-year-olds can be helpful members of the family? But they totally can.
Oh, and isn't it cute at that stage? They absolutely love helping.
Oh, yeah. Like when they get a little brother or sister and they're just like, I'll go get the nappy. Yeah. I'll go do this. I'll go do, where's the bottle? I'll get the dummy.
Can I help you vacuum? I want to vacuum. Or my kids, they were petrified of the vacuum cleaner.
My kids always wanted to clean the toilets. And still, I may be the only mother in Australia whose children ask if they can please clean the toilets. At 10 and 12.
You're a strange family.
Oh, I'm not going to argue with you about that, and I'm not going to say to my kids that that's not normal because I'm so okay with it.
Yes, you keep that up.
But I think I don't know why. It is odd. But anyway, toddlers. My children, even at toddler stage, were interested in cleaning the toilet. Maybe it's just a boy obsession with wee and poo.
Probably,
yeah. So we think you should start to get your kids involved with packing up particularly. I don't think decluttering when they're that age is as much of a focus as you make it natural. Oh, no, darling, that toy broke. Let's put it in the bin. Or, oh, this toy you don't play with anymore. Maybe that can go to your little cousin. Rather than saying, all right, we're going to declutter your playroom today. Like, that's a bit full on if your kid's 18 months, 2 years old.
Yes, definitely. But they can help you. Like, if you're doing the linen cupboard and they're not having a nap and that's what you really want to declutter today, then get them involved and talk to them about your mindset. Like, go, oh, honey, these are for a double bed. We got rid of the double bed when we got your cot. So Mummy's going to let these go to people who need a double bed, who
Oh, I
need
like
double bed
that.
sheets. So teaching them the habits that you're learning and that you already have, I think that is so awesome to get them to really think about how to assess what they need to keep and what they don't need to keep. And your parent, like you're teaching them as you're learning as well.
And to the language that we use with young children, like if they've got, say, board books, the ones that are like made of cardboard,
Yes.
and you feel like they're really moving on to picture books, and say they're 3.5, 4 years old, instead of saying, do you want these board books anymore? In which the answer is 99.9% of the time going to be yes. You can say, hey, now that you're such a big girl and doing really well reading your picture books, how about we send your board books to other smaller children who would be wanting to read them? So, really framing for those young children is a really important part of teaching them kind of those habits.
I love it. So good. We also were talking previously before we hopped on about storing kids' toys. And we
Yes.
spoke about this in the kids' toy episode, but let's
go back there.
go back and say that it's really helpful for kids to have pictures, young kids to have pictures on containers. And so then when you go to pack up, they can easily see that the dinosaurs go in the dinosaur box and the blocks go in the block box and the Play-Doh goes in the Play-Doh box. And so that's really, really helpful. And also to get in there and play with them. Like not only to play the actual dinosaurs and the blocks and the Play-Doh, but go, hey, it's time to pack up. We're going to sit down to have lunch. So before we have lunch, we've got to pack up all these dinosaurs that we were just playing with. Let's see who can do it the quickest. And make it fun and make it like enthusiastic and get in there and help them and do it, particularly because they're so young. And they may still at 9 and 7 want you to help them pack up, maybe from experience. And you can still get in there and help them and set a good example for them. But I promise you by 9 and 7, they're more than capable of doing it themselves. And you can just remind them that they're capable of doing it themselves.
And there's so much opportunity for learning during that. Like, hey, we're going to pack up the cars. Can you find all the green cars first? And you got all the green. Okay, what about the yellow cars? Or we're going to pack up the puzzle. Can you find the pieces that look like the box? So there is just so many opportunities to continue your learning, not to think of this as the chore and the play as the play. Yes. Really think broadly, like actually packing things up, or let's see if we can hold 5 things each in each hand, or why don't we pack up 6 things each? That kind of stuff can really help. I loved what you were saying, Kirst, about those baskets and having containers. I love the idea of not having lids on containers where possible for young children's toys. Firstly, because the lids will hardly ever end up back on the containers. And secondly, because there's that ability just to kind of throw things away. You've got the cars, you've tipped it out. Children want to tip stuff out, so just have it that. Be okay with that. We're not going to give you any tips to stop that. That's just going to happen.
Sorry. Peeps.
Sorry about that. You can have a refund if that's what you were here for. But by having a box without a lid, you can just tip the box back up and throw things in. So that can be a really helpful thing. I do, however, recommend that for craft things, for messy play, do have stuff with containers. Firstly, so things don't dry out, because it's frustrating when you go back and the glue or the paint or the glitter has dried out. But secondly, so that it's harder for them to get their interested little fingers in there when you're not in the room. Or even store them up high.
Yeah, and that's what we do. We still have Play-Doh up high. And it has to be asked to go down.
Oh, that's great.
At 7. She can do it herself, but she often chooses to still ask Mummy and Daddy to help her get it down. But it's great, like containers with lids are perfect for those type of things. Great advice, Amy. Thank you.
And how can we be teaching our children about intentional consumerism? To not think that every single time that Mummy takes me to the shops, I get to pick a toy. Or if that is the way that you want to do it, if you do want to be the kind of parent that says, every time you go grocery shopping, I want to buy you something, how do you stop it at the other end from taking over your house?
Yeah, that's great. I think that it is really one tip that we often give is one in, one out. So if you do need to buy something for a toy for your child to get through the shopping experience, there's no shame there. Do that. Or do calls online, Woolies online. So you
or
don't
buy them
have to.
something different. Maybe instead of buying a toy, you could say, we're going to make your favourite dessert. Or we'll save up, like you'll get 5 points every time and we'll save up for a book. So you can get creative with how that looks as well.
Yes. However, if you are that type of person who needs to get through the shopping trip with a toy, then when you get home, say, oh, how awesome that you chose that another red car today. Why don't we go in and choose a red car that we already have in the box and we can give it to somebody who doesn't have any cars. So, yeah, we really like that one in, one out rule, and even potentially one in, two out.
Yeah, if you're trying to declutter, that's perhaps a gentler way than saying, all right, we're going to get rid of 50% of everything that you own. You can do that one in, couple out rule.
So we're talking about being intentional about what we actually bring into their home. And we love encouraging all our beautiful listeners to do that, to be intentional and to set limits on things. So with toddlers, it's really a season of growth for them. So it's really easy to go out and buy lots of clothes and lots of toys, or to have them given to you by grandparents, loving family members, or have hand-me-downs from people. So, which is awesome, and we really appreciate that. And it's an expensive time of life because kids are growing so quickly and they're changing their interests really quickly. However, we do have some tips for you around what to do with gifts and with toys. And in episode 18, we talk about gifts, and in episode 24, we talk about Christmas gifts. So both of those episodes are really good, talking about what other things other than toys we can give our children.
It's never too young to be introducing children to the concept of minimalism. So my kids never were short on toys. That was because they had very generous grandparents, and we had also loved on them with some different toys. But what I found is they kind of always went to the same type of things. So Play-Doh was huge in our family. Cars, trains and tracks was really big in our family. Outside toys, massive hit. My kids love being outside at any opportunity. And so we found that we tended to have broad categories of things. So rather than having 50 different types of toys that you felt like there was always bits of this and bits of that it's hard to organise. We just had some broad categories, and little people, those Fisher-Price little people, oh, they were so cute, and their fat little toddler hands around the little people. Oh, I can just picture it. So we had some containers that had like full sets in it. So a large container that didn't have a lid that would have trains, cars and tracks, because that was played with together. So it wasn't like the cars went in one box and the tracks went in another box and the trains went in another. And when they wanted to play, we simply just picked up that box, took it out, played with it, and it was easy to just bring that box into what they had then in their bedrooms, a play area, or really a storage area, because they played in the family room. Anyone else had that experience? You think you're setting up a playroom for the kids and then find out they just want to be hanging around your feet. So those open boxes with broad categories for us was a great way to not only teach the kids to keep their stuff organised, but so that they could just pick a box and play happily.
And if you do find that you have loads of toys because of generosity from family members and yourself, because you're so eager to love on your children in that way, another idea is to rotate toys around.
Oh, yes.
So that you have a set of toys that you have out for a week or two, and then you pack them up, put them high up in a cupboard or somewhere away from the kids, and you bring out the second rotation of toys. And you can do that. You can have like 3 or 4 sets, or you can just have 2 sets, or however it would work in your family. You can rotate toys, because then kids, it means you don't have to necessarily get rid of toys. You don't have to declutter them if you're thinking that the kids may get into them one day, but you can rotate them so you don't have to have everything. You don't have to have containers or space in your small lounge room or a small playroom for everything. Rotate toys around, and then it keeps the kids engaged and interested and nurtures their creativity.
It keeps things fresh so you don't get bored as the parent.
Yeah.
Because you kind of get, kids like repetition.
Yes.
And they like playing the same games. And ours, I don't know if yours did, Kirst, but there was lots of like, they'd hold a character and it would talk. And then you had to talk back, like this role play kind of thing, but with little toys. And I kind of get sick of it.
Do you know what I hated?
What?
Playing mummies.
Oh, yeah, see.
Because I'm always the mummy.
Well, it's
Like,
boring.
I'm like, why do I want to role play myself?
Yeah.
This is not role playing. This is my real life child.
Can I play the
Can
baby?
I please play the baby? I
Yeah.
would do that with Emily.
Can I lie on the ground
I'm
and you
like-
stroke my hair?
I'm sorry, honey, but I'm only playing this if I get to be the baby. And then I'd act it up. Ham it up for her. Like, I don't want to eat that. I don't want to play. I don't want to.
You're a mean baby.
I was a very mean baby. I didn't do that very often, but sometimes when I was, when you just like push to the edge.
So what are some other tips that we can give people for decluttering with toddlers? How do we do it alongside them? Because what I think people are scared of, and I've heard lots of people say, is I start decluttering their stuff and they follow behind me, pulling it out of the bags.
Yes.
But that's my favourite toy. I can't sleep with. That book was given to me by Nana. How do you overcome that kind of stuff?
I think it is really teaching them why it is that we're doing it, and to not let go of everything. Like, give them boundaries. Haha, I've landed on what I wanted to say. Give them boundaries. So say you're feeling overwhelmed by how many trains they have. Say, okay, honey, we are going to keep your 10 favorite trains. Or, hey, honey, we're only going to keep Chuggington and we're going to let go of Thomas.
Chuggington, I remember that show.
It's the best.
Chuggington. Chugga, 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 chugga.
Sorry, peeps.
We're having like a bit of a
Reminisce?
flashback
Yes.
to when our children were toddlers 8-10 years ago.
Yeah. So give your kids boundaries and set limits on it. So say, right, like this box has been overflowing. This box is now overflowing because you just got new toys for your birthday, or it's just been Christmas, or, we just got hand-me-downs from somebody else. So let's set a limit. And this container can be a natural limit, or, just think about setting boundaries for your children and letting them choose and help them figure out their own mindsets. Like, go, well, I know that, like, Auntie Kathy gave that to you and she's really precious. So how else can we remember Auntie Kathy?
Oh, I love it.
What else has Auntie Kathy given you that we can be excited that Auntie Kathy loves us so much?
And do you notice how when kids go to childcare, you can walk into a room of 30 children and they're all playing really nicely, and often individually, like they're not quite at the age where they're playing together. But if you walked into a childcare room, so picture if your child goes to childcare, picture what the room likes when you arrive in the morning. And then picture what your toy area looks like. Is it similar, or does your toy room look like somebody just went through there with a fan force and put every toy in random places on the floor, out of order, out of containers? Because when children walk into chaos, the confused mind says no. And that goes for children as well. They walk in, they just look around like, I don't know what to do. But when they walk into a play area that's organised, whether that's at home or childcare, it's like the blocks are over there, and that's where the blocks always are. And if I want to play blocks, I go over there. And this is where the drawing is, and this is where that is, and this is where the cars are. And so think about what that's like and maybe try and set that up at your place. Because if all your toys are on the floor or all in one big toy box, that's really confusing for kids.
Yeah, I love that idea of having an invitation to play. So setting up the toy blocks and saying, hey, honey, after breakfast this morning, we're going to play with the toys.
That is beautiful. An invitation to play. Did you come up with that?
No, I did not.
Oh, I wish you did, because that's awesome.
No, it's an early childhood thing. I did not come up with it.
It's brilliant.
Yeah. And also an invitation to play can be led by, okay, hun, you really want to play with the Play-Doh, but we were playing with the blocks. let's pack up all the blocks first and then we can move on to the Play-Doh. Just really encouraging that we're finished with something, and the finishing of that task is actually the packing away of that task.
That's part of the process.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that.
That is the whole process. The process starts by getting the toys out. The process finishes by putting those toys back.
I love that.
What we do in our house is before dinner, even now, even to this day, before dinner, we go, all right, dinner's going to be ready in 20 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever. It's time to pack up. And so we then head into dinner with everything packed away instead of toys and craft items and Lego and books lying all around, because then you get into, and particularly with toddlers, then you get into the witching hour, and it can go on. It can be witching, feels like witching days.
Yeah, it usually you're thinking, okay, 5 o'clock, I know between 5 and 7 I need to be attentive and, productivity is a write-off. But what if that starts at 4? You need to be on it.
Yeah. So look at the rhythm of your children and look at the rhythm of their day. And if they need some quiet time in the afternoon, then go, okay, it's time to read some books. Let's pack up Thomas now and let's go and sit and read books. Or we're going to listen to a kids podcast while I'm cooking dinner, so that if they're audible learners, they can learn that way.
I would say that one of the key pieces of advice that we would give you is, if you feel like you are constantly in a cluttered mess with your toddler's toys or your children's toys, it's probably a good indication that you've got too many, if it's constantly feeling cluttered. So the answer to that is to declutter. And go back to episode 1 and go through that. We went really specifically, how do you go about it? What's the first thing you do? What's the steps that you do? What kind of containers can you use? Because if in any area of your life and home, there's constantly tension, and I don't mean tension as in arguing, but there's this constant frustration. It's a fairly good indicator that that area could be moved more towards a minimalistic and decluttered way of life.
And there's heaps of articles that we could send you to, but we'll probably just put up 1 or 2 this week about minimalism and kids' toys. And often they talk about having open-ended play toys like Lego and blocks and things that can be used in multiple ways and creative ways, so that, the blocks can be people talking to each other, as well as building a structure.
As well as building a farmyard, as well as building a bottle for mummies and babies.
Yes, so that they're open-ended creative ways of playing. So if you have got really young kids who are moving into toddlerhood and you haven't amassed a whole shop full of toys yet, then think about having buying open-ended toys.
Excellent. And just before we finish up, I want to encourage you that if you are feeling overwhelmed in this area of your home, if you've got toddlers, you feel like you're just not able to get your mojo, Kirsty and I would love to come in and work with you and help you train your toddlers, not just work with you and ignore the toddlers. We can work with both of you, or we can work with you to help you get a clean slate and give you the skills and the tools to keep it that way. So be in touch with either of us if that is something we could help you with.
And if you have a friend who is in this season, then please feel free, I can't talk this afternoon, please feel free to share this episode with them, because no doubt they will find something to take away from this episode.
We hope that has answered your questions, Natalie, and have a great week, guys, learning to declutter with your toddlers, and we will catch you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us. If you've learnt something awesome today, do a friend a favour and share this episode so they too can learn the art of decluttering. You can find me, Amy, over at simplyorganised.net or on Facebook as Simply Organised PO.
You can find me, Kirsty, over at feelslikehome.net.au or on Facebook as Feels Like Home PO.
Don't forget, you can see the show notes in your podcast app or over at our website, theartofdecluttering.com.au. So if there's anything you want more info on, check it out there. If you love what you hear, we'd really appreciate you leaving a review on iTunes.
We hope you've enjoyed listening and that you've learnt some tips to help you declutter and keep your home organised.
If you'd like to join our supporter community, you can do so over at patreon.com/theartofdecluttering.
We hope you have a great rest of your day and enjoy the freedom.
Do you find your home is constantly messy and your mind is always muddled?
Do you long for more clarity in your thoughts and simplicity in your life?
If you answered yes to these questions, then we think it's time you know the secret to experiencing freedom and joy.
Join us as we unpack all the things that create clutter in our lives and learn the key to living a decluttered and organised life that you can embrace and enjoy.
Together, we will explore what it takes to have a home that is welcoming and well organised, where you're free to focus on living freely and abundantly.
Visit theartofdecluttering.com.au to find out more about joining our online course community.